Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Skip Johnson. I'm a retired colonel from the Colorado Air National Guard, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this unbelievable Colorado day, right? November 6th could have been anything for Colorado, right? Oh, there's no doubt we're being looked upon. I'm honored to welcome you to the dedication ceremony of the historic Colorado Fallen Heroes Memorial. In just a few minutes, you'll be hearing from Governor Polis, Mayor Hancock, Mr. Larry Mizell, Colorado's own Adjutant General Laura Clellin, and our keynote speaker and guest of honor, Lieutenant General Michael Ferriter. But before I start, I want to tell you what an absolute honor it is to look out into this audience. I'm so privileged to get to work with a lot of Gold Star families, and it's so great to see so many beautiful faces of yours out here today. You need to know that memorial behind us stands in tribute to your family members' sacrifice and yours. Just to let you know that you will never, and they will never be forgotten by this country. You inspire me every single day with your grace and courage. I also want to thank today Mayor Mike Kaufman, Lieutenant Colonel Byron Elliott, Captain Rob Bingham, Todd Youngblood, Colonel Catherine Braun, and Stacia Harris, who read the names for you this morning. The Memorial Commission was established by legislation in 2007 with the purpose of erecting a memorial to remember and honor Coloradoans killed in action from World War I to present. It was designed by Mr. Seth Rosenman of Rosenman Associates Architects. You'll also hear from him today, and it was built in collaboration with Robert Root and Dick Farley and built by Saunders Construction, led by Gregory Schmidt, CEO and Chairman. I also want to recognize Rebecca Tim, Tom Wykstra, and Sean Fields of the Colorado Fallen Heroes Memorial Fund for their tireless efforts and commitment to driving this project forward. We're honored to have Governor Jared Polis with us here today, and you'll hear some remarks from him soon. Now please stand for the national anthem performed by Rosemary White, and remain standing for the invocation by my good friend, Chaplain David Nagel.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I invite you to pray with me. Our Father in heaven, have mercy on all gathered here. For this memorial reminds us of all the lives that you created for good, for duty and for service, lives you created both to know and to give love, lives cut short during the service and time of protection of this nation in which they served. Bless our country with your favor, your protection. Forgive us for our shortcomings and failures. Grant liberty and justice for all. Bless all who serve now in our state government office or military duty with honorable service, wisdom, and courage to do what is good and right in your sight. And we pray for peace in this world that you have made. Bring to fulfillment your promise to the prophet Isaiah. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. We look forward to that day. Our deepest hope is in you. May all remember and honor these fallen heroes of Colorado and give thanks to you for them. May all receive hope, peace, and blessing from your hand as we join in the words of your servant Moses. Teach us also to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom. These honored fallen heroes were and remain gifts to us all and to our state and nation. For their lives, for their courage, we thank you. Comfort those who mourn. Dry the tears from our eyes, and may we never grieve without hope for our future in you. In your holy name, I pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning. What a beautiful morning. What a beautiful fall day. It's such an honor to be here with all of you, celebrate our heroes. And this has been a long journey, this particular one, towards honoring our state's and country's finest with the dedication of the Colorado Fallen Heroes Memorial, and another major step today. The memorial stands as a reminder, an ongoing reminder, of the sacrifices that so many, too many, men and women in uniform have made to protect our freedom. It also builds upon a point of Colorado pride, our rich military heritage, and the contributions that we've made and Coloradans have made throughout history to protecting the United States of America. There's a lot that we can learn from each of these remarkable individuals. Each one, of course, placed duty, honor, service, commitment to country above all else. Each one has a story to share, a story to remember, a story to inspire all of us. To our veterans, to our active duty military here with us today, I want to say thank you. You embody the ideals that our country was founded upon, and you really represent the best of our great nation. I'd like our current veterans and active duty military to stand for a moment so we can all acknowledge your service. Thank you. We also have several members of Colorado State Legislature with us. I see Treasurer Dave Young, Representative Susan Lontine, a number of others. There's several members of my cabinet. We have mayors, city council members, commissioners from across the state. Really, this is an asset of the state. This is to remember Coloradans, whether they're from La Junta, Grand Junction, Aurora, or Denver. We celebrate and we remember. And we always make sure that people will know the stories no matter where they hail from. We wouldn't be at this day without the help of several members of the state legislature, really, of course, everybody who voted for this, but I particularly want to thank Speaker Alec Garnett, Representative Ortiz, who is with us, himself a veteran, Representative Lynch. Where's Representative Ortiz? Thank you, Dave. and Representative Lynch, and Jeff Shoemaker, Tim Drago. We also are excited that this beautiful space, and really is beautiful, we can, especially on a fall day, to be renamed the Lincoln Veterans Memorial Park. Very appropriate designation considering the memorial and considering how we want to think of our beautiful Central State Park between, of course, our beautiful city building. Mayor Hancock's with us as well, our beautiful state capitol on the other side. This also wouldn't have happened without the time and investment from our philanthropic partners. I want to thank Larry Meisel and MDC Richmond America Homes for their tremendous generosity. And many other donors along the way. This has been exciting to see how many donors of everything from $1 to $100 to $1,000 that have really lined up to say we as a state want to remember. We want to celebrate the lives of those who protected our freedom. And to Larry, to other supporters, on behalf of the state of Colorado, I want to say thank you for ensuring that Colorado has a place to honor and remember our own that were lost in the line of duty. A very special place, a sacred place, a place that future generations of Coloradans will come and remember. Now, I'm honored to introduce my friend, the occupant of the building on the other side of Lincoln Veterans Park, Denver Mayor Michael Hancock.
Thank you, Governor Polis. It is an honor to be able to be here with everyone to dedicate this memorial. And to follow the governor's lead, I want to express my deep gratitude to the many individuals who played a role in its creation. To our veterans, on behalf of the city and county of Denver, you have our eternal respect and gratitude for your service. And to the Gold Star families who are here as well, our hearts are with you. Here on the grounds across the country, and in the very soul of our nation, your loved ones will always be remembered. Today with us as well are many first responders, frontline and healthcare workers, and educators from across the state. I'm going to ask them to stand and be acknowledged, for they are part of our protective shield as well. Frontline, educators, healthcare workers, thank you. I couldn't be prouder that here in the very heart of Denver will be the home of the Colorado Fallen Heroes Memorial. I want to thank everyone who worked so hard on this memorial from its very beginning. It's something that we can be proud of every day as we drive past it or walk past it. With this dedication ceremony, we established this particular place as a sacred ground, a place to memorialize and honor all those who we've lost, recognize all those who've served and continue to serve, and express profound gratitude to all who have served our country in times of conflict and in times of peace. There is a closeness we can all feel in this sacred place. Whether you're related to a fallen soldier or not, all can share in the kinship of being an American in the presence of this memorial. We're surrounded by the spirits of those who have served our country and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Those we gave the last full measure of devotion for the freedoms we enjoy. We dedicate this site as a sacred place where all people can gather to recognize our heroes, where veterans will gather to share experiences with each other, or just stand and sit alone to ponder thoughts they choose not to share with anyone else. We dedicate this memorial to be a place where children will learn lessons of freedom from their parents and grandparents. Let this memorial be a reminder that our homeland and our democratic values stand safe today because brave men and women answered the call to service and made the ultimate sacrifice in dedication to this country's and those values. We thank God for each and every one of them. For many hands and many hearts, we have created this beautiful and inspiring memorial. And I want to recognize again the individuals whose leadership and generosity made this memorial possible. Larry Meisel understands the importance of honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice. It's my pleasure to bring to this podium one of our heroes in our city, in our state, Larry Popeye Meisel, Chairman and CEO, MDC Richmond Homes Foundation.
Thank you, Mayor Hancock, and thank you, Governor Polis. It's wonderful to see everyone on such a beautiful day. General Patton said, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn men who died. Rather, we should say, thank God for such men that lived." It is a privilege to help honor those who have fought to protect our freedoms and values by building a monument to reflect, remember, and thank and pay tribute. World War I, the U.S. overcame Germany and Austria's imperial ambitions. World War II, the U.S. helped the Allies liberate the world from the tyranny of the Nazis' Germany and the Axis powers. Our brave men and women fought in Korea and Vietnam against communism. And most recently, our troops have been defending our freedoms against dictators and terrorists from the Persian Gulf War to Afghanistan and Iraq. It is our way to express our immense gratitude to the courageous servicemen and women here in Colorado. Thank you for letting us be part of building this enduring symbol that will help us honor and remember our fathers, brothers, sons, mothers, sisters, daughters, and friends. They are loved, they are mourned, they are missed. Now it is my pleasure to welcome the visionary architect of this beautiful memorial, Seth Rosebin.
Thank you, Mr. Meisel and the MDC American Homes Foundation for ensuring that our vision became a reality. 9.5 years ago, I saw an article in the Denver Post that said a new memorial was being planned for this park. My first thought was to get in touch with my then retired business partner, Bob Root, and our good friend and colleague, Dick Farley. Bob and Dick had won the design competition for the Colorado Veterans Monument now almost 35 years ago. I said to them, we have to help. Incidentally, as a cub architect, I had built a cardboard model of the obelisk that you see behind you, but in front of you, but it was a pretty small contribution. My next phone call was to Greg Schmidt, president of Saunders Construction. I asked if he would help. Saunders had been the general contractor in 1990, which built pretty much everything that you see before you today. Greg didn't hesitate. With some uncertainty about the way our unsolicited proposal for design and cost would be greeted, Bob and Dick, Greg, his young estimator Dan Humphreys, and I met with Rebecca Kim and her committee. Our concepts were quickly accepted, and that for our part is how we came to be here today. Rebecca asked me to speak to the architectural background of the Colorado Fallen Heroes Memorial. Memorials are some of the oldest cultural expressions in the history of mankind. For this one, the starting point was something that dates to the ancient Egyptians and Greeks, a cenotaph. That Greek word means an empty tomb or monument erected in honor of a person or group of people whose remains are elsewhere. We set out to craft a memorial that was a part of this special place, one that was quiet, dignified, and evocative. The red sandstone was quarried just north of here in Lyons, as is all the other sandstone in the park, and the east side has gray granite in acknowledgement of the Capitol building it faces. No architectural project is the result of architects and general contractors by themselves. In addition to those already mentioned, I would like to thank Todd Mead and Mark Johnson of Civitas, our landscape architects, Ben Nelson of Martin Martin, our structural engineer, Marla Stoth, our lighting designer and engineer, and the numerous subcontractors who contributed to the construction. I especially want to thank Jeffrey Brooks of Saunders, who tirelessly oversaw the work. And finally, there's an old saying that there can be no good architecture without a good client. To Rebecca Kim, I extend my profound thanks for being a great client. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Colorado's Adjutant General, Laura Clellin.
Thank you, Governor Polis, Mayor Hancock, and thank you everyone for being here on this just gorgeous day, and it's so good to be doing something in person finally. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the National Guard. The National Guard members have served and died for this country, and this is a place for us to remember them as well. Since before Colorado was even a state, our National Guard has always been there, always ready for our community, state, and nation, just like we are today. And our Colorado National Guard soldiers and airmen who made the ultimate sacrifice set the example for those of us who follow. And the spirit of our fallen is alive in this memorial, but it is alive in over 5,600 National Guard members serving today in Colorado. Each time a Colorado Chinook air crew flies out of Eagle to go rescue an injured hiker off of our high country, Chief Warrant Officer Dave Carter is there. Every time we have a 19th Special Forces group member deploying their parachute out over Watkins for a training jump, Sergeant First Class Danny Romero is there. Every time we have a 120th Squadron fighter pilot getting into the cockpit of an F-16 out in Buckley, Major Clyde Sealer is there. Their memories and their spirit is alive. And we remember them every day in everything that we do. And now we have a place to remember them as well as the Gold Star family members who've made the ultimate sacrifice, who allowed these service members to serve. We're forever grateful to our Gold Star family members. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice. I'd now like to introduce our keynote speaker for this ceremony. U.S. Army retired Lieutenant General Mike Ferriter. He's the President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Veterans Memorial and Museum in Ohio. He is an Army Ranger, 35 years of dedicated service. His continued service allows our military members, our veterans, and our families to have the honor and value, understand the importance of their contributions, and he inspires our future generations to serve. Please join me in welcoming retired General Mike Ferriter.
I jumped up so fast that the Colorado air almost knocked me down. A little bit dizzy. Well, thank you, General Clellin, for the introduction and the really kind remarks. And thank you, elected officials, governor and mayors, and all the elected officials here. Thanks for your service, and thanks for what you do. Now, think about this, where all across America, people are trying to downplay character and integrity and selfless service. Colorado and Denver and the county have lifted it up. That's special. And thank you to Rebecca Kim for inviting me to be a part of your dedication today, and to Command Sergeant Major, or Regimental Sergeant Major Jeff Mellinger from the 75th Ranger Regiment. He's retired now, but he recommended, I think, to Rebecca that she reach out. So I asked Rebecca what I should talk about, and she said, "General, that's easy. Talk about 8 minutes." And I think I can do that. So welcome to the Gold Star families and the dear friends of Colorado's fallen heroes. This memorial is first and foremost for you. And let's acknowledge the Civil Air Patrol. That's our young future. And spoke to a couple who said they're going to be a Marine or a naval officer or a pilot in the Air Force. And I encourage them to be Army Rangers. I want to do a special shout out to the Patriot Riders, Patriot Guard Riders, who have stood at so many funerals and grave sites to make sure nobody disturbed the most special events in your life. They're 20 years of doing this now, at least, and I don't know if they did it before this 20-year war, but give them a round of applause to stand in honor of us. It reminds me of the days of my youth when I'd walk into a bar and some guy would step up and feel like maybe I had offended him, and they're always bigger than me. And I would say, "Do you want to fight me, buddy?" And he would say, "Yes." And I would turn to one of those giants and say, "He's me, buddy." So we know you're there. And then finally, to our first responders, and let me just echo what the mayor said about, and the educators who have really had a never quit attitude to get these kids through Zoom sessions and Microsoft Teams and then hybrid ways of education, but never losing sight that the prize is the education of our youth, and the education of our youth is our future. So to the first responders that make this such, you've cordoned off this part of your city, which in of itself normally takes 6 permits and a handshake and all that, to make this such a peaceful and restful ceremony today. And then the fact that you lace them up every day and go out to protect the city and the county and the outlying areas, you're special men and women as well. Let's give them a round of applause. And yes, I'm Lieutenant General Mike Ferriter, retired. And yes, I served as an Army Ranger with 200 parachute jumps with my Rangers and paratroopers, and a tour of duty in Mogadishu, Somalia, and 3 in Iraq. But I am not the guest of honor. And so I sure hate to make a public correction of anyone who said that. Our guests of honor are our Gold Star families and all that you've given, and then everyone that supported this effort. You are the guest of honor. Because when thoughtful and passionate people get together about a big idea, then things happen. And behind me, in front of you, is the Colorado Fallen Heroes Monument because of you. And so for all those who were involved and all of those who are interested and came today, give them a final round of applause. So what a week I've had. And what a great day it is. It's a great day to be with you. It's a great day to be a part of this. And I will leave part of my heart and soul here in Denver as I depart. Yesterday I was in the National Cathedral for the memorial service and funeral of General Colin Powell. And it was a who's who of anybody except me. And I was texting my wife, "Oh my God, Tom Brokaw sitting 2 down from me." And oh my goodness, every Secretary of Defense that I've ever known is in here, and President Bush and President Obama and President Biden were there. And then 3 days before that, I was with the paratroopers of Charlie Airborne down in Columbus, Georgia for a reunion. We jumped out of airplanes in Fort Wainwright and in the Arctic in 1985, and this group came together. And what occurred to me, often I'll say, I just pay attention. And it occurred to me there's some draw, there's something special. And I do run the National Veterans Memorial Museum, and I just love the hats that all you veterans are wearing, because my non-veteran staff say, why do they all wear a hat that says where they came from? And I said, because that touched them so deeply, and also they never want to be out of uniform, so they have to put something on that says who they are. But think about, General Powell was the chairman of the board of the National Veterans Memorial Museum, and I'd speak to him about every other week, and he'd ask me, Mike, have you thought about this yet? Mike, why haven't you done that yet? Or if I asked him for a favor, he'd say, oh, you're always calling me at the last second. And then he'd always say yes. And if you ever walked with him, he would not walk by a soldier, a private, a petty officer, a veteran without stopping and being interested in their life. And I think in many ways, this Colorado Fallen Heroes Monument and the spirit behind it is reflective of those little paratroopers, that were, 135-pound, soaking wet, walking with snowshoes, who many years later come together to make sure they're okay. And the guy at the very top and his care for others. Because we often say they really don't care what you know until they know what you care. So I'm linked here today as well because I command a 3rd Ranger Battalion, and I'm linked to you in a number of ways, not the least, Ranger Russell Ripito. He was a ranger in the same battalion. He served there a few years after, but he probably served with the sergeants and senior sergeants who were the young rangers that served underneath me. I'm linked here by way of the fact that we are the National Veterans Memorial Museum, where we honor and connect and inspire and educate. And our partnership that's being developed today will allow us to take care of even more people. We must honor and never forget our fallen. Your drive and passion and never quit attitude allowed us to make this happen. Let me give you just a little background. The term Gold Star family dates back to World War I, when families displayed small banners with a blue star for every immediate family member serving. President Woodrow Wilson authorized a suggestion made by the Women's Committee on the Council of National Defenses that mothers who had lost a child who served in war could wear a traditional black mourning armband with a gold star upon it in 1918. The approval led to the tradition of the gold star covering the blue star on the service flag to show that the service member who had been serving had now passed. And thus, President Wilson coined the term Gold Star Mother. For our military families, this changed the meaning of a gold star from a job well done on school papers to one of the ultimate sacrifice. A few years ago, we were on the advisory committee for the Gold Star families in the Army before I retired, and a Gold Star mom came up to my wife Margie and said, had just a traumatic experience because a woman came up and said, you must be a really good mom, you have a Gold Star bumper sticker. And she said I had to tell her, no, it's because Jimmy was killed in Afghanistan. So being the person who I am, easily amused and also easily pissed off, I said, let's go to Fox Sports and tell them to do public service announcement and put it in the Super Bowl. And of course, my staff said, it's about a couple $1 million a minute. I said, no, that's okay, they'll do it for free. So we did go, and we met with Eric Shanks of Fox, and they did. And if you ever are watching Fox Sports 1, they still run the PSAs for you. And that's what we have to do to educate America about what it means to give the ultimate sacrifice. So like this new memorial, the display of gold stars, and the display of gold stars, it reminds us that the cost of defending our nation and our freedom is not free. And it reminds us to be thankful that there are people willing to put themselves in harm's way. General Powell said at our opening on October 27, 2018 at the National Veterans Memorial Museum, as he gave the the keynote speak. He was a guest of honor. He said, "Where do we find these men and women? Where do they come from?" And then he paused and he said, "They come from all over America. That's what America is." And that's what the twinkle in his eye was always about. We're going to be okay. And everyone that ever went to Ranger School went to the last tough Ranger class. And everyone that went to Buds did the last one. And so often everyone says, will that group of youth over there measure up to what I did and who we are? And I'm here to tell you they will. Those are called the sounds of freedom, especially if you're a base commander receiving complaints about noise. Let me tell you, let me bring this, as I see it, down to what you've really built. On October 3rd, 2013, I visited Arlington National Cemetery. There is at that in Arlington National Cemetery 6 of the fallen Rangers from Task Force Ranger who lay in rest, KIA, from Mogadishu, Somalia, on that same day, 3 October 1993. 93, 2013. You do the math. There at the graveside, I saw an assault pack or small rucksack, and I noticed each headstone had a small mini bottle of Jack Daniels. Empty. Sitting or sort of leaning against a tree was a familiar face. He looked up and said, "Major Ferriter," and he leapt to his feet and saluted. I said, "Hey, Ranger Rodriguez, I remember you, and I'm now Lieutenant General Ferriter." And after a warm hug, I asked, "Ranger, did you drink those bottles?" He said, "No, sir." And I said, "Isn't it true that a Ranger can never lie to another Ranger?" He said, "Yes, sir. I toasted each one of them, one by one, just like we used to do." It had been 20 or 30 years, and he traveled from Texas. So believe me, friends, what you have done here, you have created a destination for the families of our fallen and the friends of our fallen. And I met Russell's high school best friend today. A destination where people will not come and remember that tragic moment of the loss, but much more, they will remember the joy of being together with that person. And people need to be connected. They need to be connected, and so they'll come back to connect to their best friend. You go to these places, just like Ranger Rodriguez, some will be drinking a toast, and others will just be sitting there talking to their friend. What you did was good. So now, with the recent abrupt ending of the war in Afghanistan and what I would call a disorganized withdrawal, many of you are asking, did my service matter and did my service count? And I'm here to tell you it did matter, and it really counts. You know, when our youth step up and raise their right hand and make that commitment to sign a check, a blank check to the nation for anything the nation needs, their life is on that check, we need to tell you now, it matters. You know, my little brother, we're talking about little brothers, right? My little brother was a Hollywood agent. That's true. And anytime I normally say that, all the handsome guys come up afterwards and say, can you make a phone call for me? And not as often the lovely ladies, but certainly the handsome guys. And so John and I grew up in the same house. My dad was an officer candidate graduate, and we used to have to answer the phone, you know, Colonel Ferriter's quarters, Mikey speaking. This line is unsecure. May I help you? And so he did all the, you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, all the worldwide reality TV that we see today. He was the construct of that, and he was very, very, very big and famous guy, rock star. And so being the older brother, I would, you know, find a way to get under his skin. And I'd say, you know, John, tell me what you do. And he'd say, you know what I do? I'm a Hollywood agent. I said, no, that's your job. But what do you do? What do you do to make a difference in life? And he passed away 2 years ago, very unexpectedly, but he burned brightly throughout his whole life. And so I would tell him the following. You know, John, last year they gave you a $200,000 pay raise. And we got a 3% pay increase. And you fly around the world in a Learjet and sip champagne or whatever, and I fly around a C-130 with a Camelback and sip out of it, and then I jump out of it. And you drive a Lamborghini, you know, he's had them all, and I have a 1949 F1 Ford pickup. But the biggest difference between you and me is that you go to Hollywood and hang out with people who act like they're heroes, and we get to walk with heroes every single day. Thank you all for honoring your loved ones and best friends, or being here to support your passionate partner who was a part of this, or bringing to bear the resources to make this so. It doesn't happen on accident, but it can always happen. God bless you all. God bless the great state of Colorado and Denver. God bless the U.S. Army and all of our veterans. And God bless America. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Wykstra. I'm the father of Private First Class Jake Wykstra, U.S. Army, who was killed in action in Afghanistan on May 28, 2014. That makes me a Gold Star father. I was asked to speak today on behalf of all the Gold Star families, and I'm honored to do so. So let me give you my perspective as to why this monument is important. On May 29th, 2014, at 7:02 a.m., 2 U.S. Army officers rang our doorbell dressed in their formal blues. Then they read the letter. Our world stopped, and our hearts were crushed by the weight of the grief for the many, many months and years that followed. As we all know, when you lose a loved one and feel lost in the grief, the feeling of just making it through each day becomes your norm. But as you fight to find your new normal, the day does come when just making it is no longer enough. When the ache of the grief and the enormity of the change become a call to action. And so you move forward with your life, a stronger and better person as a means to honor your loved one. And so that's what this monument stands for. It's a fantastic symbol of honor and a tribute to the lives and courage of our fallen heroes. But it's also a reminder that we all can be a better person through their sacrifice. And so how we live our lives today, how we can each become a better person, is our tribute to our fallen heroes. We can't change what happened, but we can change what we do with our loss. We can choose to take the most terrible event of our lives and turn it into a purpose. To know ourselves better so that we can be a better person to our families and our friends around us. I'm convinced that's the best way to honor their sacrifice. I'm convinced that our fallen heroes are up there today looking down upon us and challenging us to be better persons. And this Fallen Heroes Memorial will always stand to remind us of their sacrifice. And so I will leave you with this today. When we received Jake's personal belongings back, shipped to us from the Kandahar Air Base in Afghanistan, we found a handwritten note in Jake's locker, and it said this: "Your measure is not found in how much time you have on this earth, but rather it's what you do with the time that you have." Thank you for helping us to always remember our fallen so that their names will never be forgotten.
Good morning. Thank you to all who have joined us today as we celebrate the completion of this memorial and the commitment we have to our fallen. The memorial is built, but our work is just beginning as we now turn our attention to the preservation of stories of our fallen and their sacrifice. As you entered the park today and walked down the promenade to the seating area, I hope you had a moment to look at the faces of our fallen. You may have noticed some pieces that were sketched or painted. These portraitures were created by art students from Liberty Middle School and Grandview High School. Students from 6th grade to 12th grade spent time reading about their service member and looking into their faces as they created their art. This simple project has connected our youth with the meaning of service and the reality of sacrifice. And this is helping us launch the next phase of our mission. Through a partnership with the Counterterrorism Education Learning Lab, the CEL, the schools across the state, we will present a speaker series that allows students to learn from and engage with Gold Star families, military veterans, active service, and military historians. The goal is to provide a dynamic platform for representatives of the military and military families to show what it means to serve. Thank you, Governor Polis, for your continued support of this memorial and for honoring our fallen. And Mayor Hancock, thank you for being here today and recognizing how valuable and meaningful this park is to Denver. Thank you, Mr. Mizell and the MDC Richmond American Homes Foundation for the dedication you have to honoring our fallen. And without your generosity, we would not all be gathered here today. Thank you, General Ferriter, for your service to our country and your continued service by preserving our stories. As I close, I'd like to take note that it has been our history to gather in Lincoln Veterans Memorial Park on the Saturday before Veterans Day to remember our fallen and celebrate and honor our veterans. After our benediction, I would encourage you to walk the promenade to the Colorado Veterans Monument. We will honor 2 veterans here today. Tim Drago and Jim Rosetta, please stand. Their service to this country and our community is decades long. Tim returned from Vietnam and set his eyes on a new mission, build a memorial to honor our veterans. Jim has been by his side and volunteering from the very beginning. 31 years later, after the dedication, the efforts of Tim and Jim stand behind me, and is a lasting reminder of how grateful we are for our veterans. Ms. Jan Weber with the Smoky Hill Quilt Club will present a quilt of valor to Tim and Jim at the foot of the monument that means so much to this veterans community. I hope you'll join us for this meaningful presentation. And now, please rise for the benediction by Chaplain Nagel.
Community, thank you for answering the convicting words of our former president many decades ago, Calvin Coolidge, when he said, "A nation which forgets its defenders will be itself forgotten." Thank you for helping keep that memory alive. Please join me as we close this special dedication in prayer. Almighty God and creator of heaven and earth, may this special monument stand as a lasting memorial to the brave men and women who have lost their lives in service to Colorado and our beloved nation. Their great sacrifice is the sacred foundation that permits this experiment in democracy to continue. Throughout our history, Father, our Gold Star families have borne the tremendous pain of this loss. We honor these special families today and ask, Lord, that each time we pass this special place, that we would pause to reflect upon the great cost of freedom. Each life lost, whether on the battlefield far from home, a tragic training accident, or through the heartbreaking loss of suicide due to the hidden wounds of war, is precious in your sight, in our memory. Father, thank you for those who've had the vision, tenacity, and generosity to see this special place to completion. Thank you for your great love for us. Please bring us peace and heal our divided land so that we might continue to shine the light of freedom here and abroad. It is in your holy name that we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal portion of the dedication for today. However, the day is not over. I do hope that you'll attend Rebecca's presentation of the Quilts of Valor behind me directly following this. And on 16th Street Mall, there's a tribute to veterans of all service branches. But finally, we've been looking at them from the stage all day long, but I'd like the audience to turn around and look at the young Civil Air Patrolmen in their blue shirts. They've made a choice, but now I challenge them. If you truly want to know about sacrifice, if you truly want to know about courage and grace, heroes walk among you today. They're in the hearts and the faces of these Gold Star families. Come up to them, introduce yourself, ask them about the story of their loved one. They'll tell you. They love them. They're proud of them. And I'm inspired by them. I hope they inspire you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for attending. God bless America.